Good morning, class. I'm doing something a little differently today. I actually want you to go to Think Central. Once the major part of the lesson's over, I want to show you something that's kind of cool that's in here. So when you go, you're going to use your ID number and the password that you were given at the beginning of the year. Yours will not look like this. Remember, yours is going to have like the things to do and the library resources. So when you go to your library resources, you're going to want to go to your student edition. Go to the Flash ebook. You can go to table of contents, or you can put in the page number. But currently we're on chapter 2, and we are on lesson 3. Okay, so I am going to go through the lesson with you like I normally do on here. But before I do that, I want to show you guys this interactive tool. So under the interactive tool, you can click on base 10 blocks. And then they have lots of different activities, but I really like this one for dividing. On your own, if I put 15 here, and then I have nothing left over, I can check. Oh, let me try that again. Okay, so I know what I did wrong. I didn't actually put in the remainder. So once we put in the remainder, we don't have a remainder, so we're going to put in 0. So we have 15 remainder 0. When I check it, then I see that I got it right. So this might be kind of a fun tool for you to play around with some of the on your own answers. Okay, so I'm going to actually exit out of this part of it, and I am going to go back to the lesson. So lesson 2.3 is division with 2-digit divisors. Our essential question today is, how can you use base 10 blocks to model and understand division of a whole number? So if I'm looking here, the materials I'm going to use is the base 10 blocks. I will have those available for you at your tables or on the floor if you want to use them there. There are 156 students at Caryville Middle School chorus. The music director wants the students to stand with 12 students in each row for the next concert. How many rows will there be? So we're going to use the base 10 blocks, and we're going to devise a model, okay? And we're going to divide the 156 by 12. So first we're going to do is we're going to place 2 10s below the 100 to form a rectangle. So if you look right here, they have the 100 block and 2 10s below. The reason they do that is because we're dividing by 12, so they want 12 in the row. And if you look on the hundreds, we have 10 rows, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, all 10 rows of 10. And then we have to add 2 more rows because we want it to be 12, all right? So it says place 2 10s below the 100 to form a rectangle. How many of groups of 12 does the rectangle show? How much of the dividend is not shown in this rectangle? So if I'm looking at this rectangle, I have 100 and 10, 20, right? I have 120. So I have 10 groups of 12, and 10 times 12 is 120, right? Whoa. So how much of the dividend is not shown? Well, if my dividend is 156, and I have 120, well, 156, let me do that, 156 minus 120, 6 from 0 is 6, 5 from 2 is 3, okay, and 1 from 1 is 0. So I have 36, so I'm just going to kind of put a little line here. I have 36 of the dividend that's not shown. So now what I have to do is I have to combine the remaining 10s and 1s into as many groups of 12 as possible. Okay, so that means I'm going to put, if you can see here, they put a block base of 10, 11, 12. 10, 11, 12. Right now I have 10, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, but I need to get to 36. So I'm going to do another 10, 11, 12. So now I have 10, 20, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. So now I've accounted for that 36. So how many groups of 12 did I add? So I added 3 more groups, right? 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups. So I added 3 more groups. Now place these 12 groups to the right side of the triangle to make it larger rectangle. So they've already done that over here on this side. Now it says place these 12 to the right side of the rectangle to make it larger. The final rectangle is going to show blank groups of 12. So if I'm looking on here, I had the 10 already right here. There's 10, right? And then I made 3 more groups. So 10, 11, 12, 13. So I had 13 groups of 12. So there will be 13 rows of 12 students. So basically 156 divided by 12 is 13. So it's just another way for you to divide, but using manipulatives. It says, explain why you still need to make the group of 12 after step B. Well, you only had 120, right? So if you only have 120 and you needed 156, you still have more to divide, okay? Describe how you can use the base 10 blocks to find the quotient of 176 divided by 16. Well, I hope that you do the same thing. You would take your 100. So here's my 100. That's 10, right? There's 10 rows here, but I need 16 rows. So if I have 10 rows, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So now I have 16 rows. How much do I have here though? I have 100 and 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So right here I have 160. So I'm missing, if I have 160 and 176 was the amount that I'm trying to divide about, 176 minus 160 is set 16 more, right? Because 160 plus 16 is going to give me 176. So that means I need one more row of 16, right? So there's my 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? And if I'm doing that, and now I'm going across, so now I have 10 across plus the 1. So that means my answer is going to be 11. Okay? So connect. Division and multiplication are the inverse operations. Okay, so on making connections, the two sets of groups of 12 that you find in the investigation are partial quotients. First, you found the tens group of 12, and then you found 3 more groups of 12. Sometimes you may need to regroup before you can show the partial quotient because maybe you might have a remainder, right? So let's look at this next question. It says, you can use a quick picture to record the partial product. So we're going to divide 180 divided by 15. Okay? So first we're going to model the division. So we have 180 as 108 tens. So here's my 100, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 8 tens. That is 180, right? So I'm going to model the first partial quotient by making it a rectangle with the 100 and 5 tens, okay? Because I want to make 15. I'm dividing it by 15. So let's draw our first partial quotient. So here we have 100, right? And then we need 5 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The reason I know that I have to have 5 groups is because this is 15. Kind of messed that up there, but that is 15, okay? That number is 15. That's what I'm dividing it by. In 100 block, we have 10 already. So if there's 10 there, then I just go 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so that's the first part. That's the easy part. Then, so if I'm looking at this first partial, I have 100 and 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So this rectangle is going to show 150, okay, groups of 15. So now I need to do the second partial quotient, okay? So an additional group of 15 cannot be made without regrouping because I've already used 150, right? So I've used 100, and I've used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So all I have left are these 3 tens, but I can't make 15 out of those 3 tens, so I'm gonna have to regroup. So if I take 2 of the 10s, so I'm going to take 2 of the 10s, okay? I'm going to put 2 of the 10s here. And then this third 10, if I break it up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I break it up into 10 ones, I can equally divide that amongst this so that I can get more 15s, right? Second drawing, so my second drawing is going to be like this. So now I have I have my first drawing. Recreate it, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then now I'm going to take this right here and I'm going to divide it. So I'm going to 1, 2, and then I'm going to take my 10 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because remember, I'm trying to make 15. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So now I have one more 10 and I have 5 more ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it goes in equally. So now there are, let's see how many groups there are. This is 10 and I have 11, 12. So now there are 12 groups of 15. So the answer is 180 divided by 15 is 12. Okay, because I had these original 10 and then I had 2 additional, and 10 and 2 is 12. It has 143 divided by 13. So as you can see, they did the 13. Here's 10, right? 11, 12, 13, right? So they did the 13. Now, 13, right? So I have 10. This is 100 and 10, 20, 30. So this part of the equation, right, equals 130. Well, I have 143, so I have 13 left over. So as you can see, they did 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, now what they want us to do is they want us, so we know this is 10, right? Because there are 10 in the big square. And then there's one more right here. Okay, so 10 plus 1, these are your partial quotients. You have your 10, and then you have your 1. 10 plus 1 is 11. Okay, so the answer to 143 divided by 13 is 11. Okay, so this picture can really help you. Just a couple more with you before you do your on your own. And again, if you want to do this, or you can also go to the little interactive tool that I showed you earlier. Okay, so let's do 168 divided by 12. Okay, so 168 divided by 12. I have to make 12, okay? It's 168. So here's 100. And in that 100, I already have 10. Right here's 10, right? So I need to make 12 more. I need to make it be 12. So 10, 11, 12. Okay, so now I have 12. And if I'm looking at this and I'm counting the individual dots, this is 100 and 10, 20. So I have 120. Okay, and the number I'm trying to get to is 168. So how much left over do I have in my other partial quotient? Okay, so I have 168. 8 minus 0 is going to be 8. 6 minus 2 is going to be 4. So I need to make 48 more. So let's see how many more I can make. And again, I've got to make them in groups of 12. So I have 10, 11, 12, 20, 21, 22, 30, 31, 32, 40, 31. There you go. So now let's count them. We have 10, 20, 30, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. So this part of the partial quotient, okay, was 120. And this part of the partial quotient is the 48. So now if I want to find out how much 168 divided by 12 is, I need to count. There's 10 rows of them here, and then I have 11, 12, 13, 14. So 168 divided by 12 is 14. Okay? So now let's look at the next one. I'm going to do one more with you guys before I have you go on your own. So 154 divided by 14. So again, the number I'm looking at is 14. So when I'm doing this, I want to make sure that I have 14. So there's 10 here, 10 tens, right? 11 tens, 12 tens, 13 tens, 14 tens. So now I have 14 tens. This totals out to be 100, 10, 20, 30, 40. So this is 140. Okay, so that's one part of my partial quotient. 140 from 154, I still have 14 left over. So I only need to make one more group of 14. So there's my 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 154 divided by 14 is, remember this is 10, and you got one more, that's 11. So the answer is going to be 11. Okay, I'm going to be on the carpet if you need me for the on your own.